It should come as no surprise to any of you that I have always been a huge fan of knives. It started with slip joints when I was very young, and I've now owned hundreds, if not maybe even thousands of knives, ranging from gentleman's folders to very big, clunky, heavy, tactical folders. And I never really considered myself a fixed blade guy. I'd had a few over the years, mainly just for camping, and that was basically it. That is until Georgia Bushcraft happened. I mentioned this in a video about a year ago, and probably a little bit before that as well. Those people, the people from Georgia Bushcraft, survivalists, they've taught me things, and they have changed my EDC quite a bit, actually. I wear a sharpening stone around my neck with a fire starter basically every single day. Do I need it every day? No, but I do wear it every day. I also carry a lighter in my pocket every day. And now the biggest change that has happened because of these bushcraft people, some of my best friends in the world now, is that I carry a fixed blade almost every single day. I actually don't remember the last time I didn't have a fixed blade on me. So when Tactile Knife Company reached out and asked if I would like to design a fixed blade for them, the answer was an immediate and a resounding hell yeah. And I already had something in mind for what I wanted to design for a while at that point, but I had not put it to paper yet. So that just kind of gave me that push to get it on paper and send it over. So in the span of maybe 2 to 3 weeks, I went from this idea of a knife that I'd been kicking around for a long time that was just in my head to sketching something out and having a physical prototype in hand and learning that this was not as good in hand as it was on paper, and then iterating and iterating and iterating and iterating to get to something like this, and then eventually get to something like this. So this knife right here is the Tactile Knife Company Redhawk, and I want to tell you a little bit about it. Before we get into the Redhawk itself, you might be asking, why Tactile Knife Company? Well, frankly, they asked, and I like those guys, but it actually goes much deeper and much further back than that. I think back to a phone call I had with Will Hodges, the founder of Tactile Turn and Tactile Knife Company, probably like 6 years ago now. This was actually before Tactile Knife Company was a thing. It was founded in 2020, and Will had told me he was kicking around the idea of starting a knife company. They had gone to Blade Show, they had put out this like reverse OTF pen knife thing, but he wanted to do it right and do it proper, and to do that he felt like he needed a new company. And at the time I actually told him that if he did it, if he launched Tactile Knife Company, I wanted them to make my knife. I actually wanted them to make my first knife, but the timing on that just never quite worked out. They were busy building a knife company from the ground up and also still running a pen company, and I was really busy trying to figure out this YouTube algorithm, evolve my content, and get Carry Commission off the ground, my store. And it just never quite lined up perfectly until now. So when they came to me and asked if I would like to design a fixed blade for them, there was no hesitation. It was an immediate yes. But this goes much deeper than just something two friends said to each other 6 years ago on the phone. I'm sure Will probably doesn't remember that phone call. I barely remembered it, and I haven't talked to him about that since then. So I have no idea. That actually doesn't have a ton of bearing on this. It's just something that was very cool to me, like in retrospect. But me wanting Tactile to make one of my first knife designs is actually much more related to how cool Tactile is as a company. They're very young, they're fresh, they are pushing the needle, and they are doing things a little bit differently. And I know that sounds super cliche, but they are, right? They've been around for 5 years, and how many hits do they have? They have some really nice knives. The Bear is one of the coolest and most unique slip joints on the market because it's extremely thin. The Archer is true precision machining. It's art when it comes down to it. The Mariner 2 has an amazing story behind it, and it's a really cool knife. We now have this larger Rockwall coming with a flipper, like that one's really cool, and they just keep having hits, one after another. And they don't always get it right. I won't mince words about that. They have made some missteps, as any young knife company would do, but they have fixed the problems, and then they have gone further. And that was solidified for me and for Ricky when we went to Texas a few months ago and got to see the operation in person. We actually got to see them making the Redhawk in person and going through all the iterations of trying to get the grind perfect and trying to bring to life what I wanted in a knife. And seeing how far they were willing to go to get it right was really impressive. They had never made a taco kydex sheath before, ever, and they spent a lot of time trying to get that down so they could do it in-house and get it just right, and they knocked it out of the park. The grind line on the Redhawk, that was something that on paper, very easy to draw. On a machine, not so easy to actually grind, and that's why there were a ton. I mean, this was just a handful of the scraps they made trying to get the grind just right, and all the different processes that they go through, the stations, the way that they have the entire place, the facility just laid out is very, very smart and efficient. And it was very cool to see in person, and visiting them and seeing all of that just solidified my decision in working with them and bringing this knife, the Redhawk, to life. I went from not carrying any fixed blades ever to kind of dabbling with them maybe 3 or 4 years ago, then going to Georgia Bushcraft, and then just becoming completely, totally enamored by fixed blades. I don't know for sure. You counted my knife collection the other day.
Oh yeah, there was like close to 300 just folders, and there's probably another like 100 and so fixed blades in that bottom 2 shelves over there.
Yeah, there are. I would say at one point it was probably as many fixed blades in here as there were folders.
Probably.
And that's this big, massive like tectonic shift in me and everyday carry. Fixed blades for EDC have exploded. And I've tried a ton of them. I've tried a lot. And I have had some serious mainstays in my collection. The Big Eye TI Lookout, like that one has been a constant. I've had a TPK Raptor that I carried a bunch. I've had
Knives by Nuge.
Knives by Nuge, the Wicket and the Wicket XL.
TJ Schwartz.
The Schwartz with the Overland and the Overland Sport. I mean, we have a laundry list of knives. The Jackrabbit from Bilgewater. There's so many good fixed blades. But there were none that checked all the boxes for me. This is kind of what came of that. Me looking for a fixed blade that checked all the boxes for everyday carry. There were some of those, or a lot of those, that would have most of the boxes checked, but then like the sheath was an afterthought. Or it'd have a really good sheath, but I didn't really love the knife a whole lot. So there was never like the perfect combination. So I put everything I wanted into a fixed blade design. We have this really thin grind with this wider blade. It's not too wide, but it's a taller blade, which allows it to be very thin and slicey. The reverse Tonto, we actually talked about this in deep cuts last week, why my preference has changed towards this. Aesthetically, I still really like clip points and drop points, but when it comes to true utility and like across the board best blade shape for everyday carry, this is what I turn to, is a reverse Tonto, kind of modified sheep's foot, with just a little bit of belly. It covers so many areas. Food prep, tearing down boxes, kind of hard use, like it can do a lot, and it's just a really good blade shape. So this is the blade shape I wanted in a fixed blade, but a lot of the ones that I'd tried that had either a similar or kind of a similar shape had kind of this like short, small handle, or the handle wasn't right. So like the blade was good, but I didn't love the handle. So I wanted something that had a full handle, but still had this really cool blade that's just widely adaptable to all the things I might do any given day. We wanted to make it so that you can do a pinch grip on it. So we scalloped the handles. So you can come up here and pinch it really well. It fits really well for a grip like that, which is how I end up using a knife a lot, is this grip right here. And it's a good full 4-finger grip on the handle as well. It's got jimping along the top here, and that jimping is a really nice touch from Tactile. The jimping just slowly fades into the spine of the blade, which is really nice. And we did try it. This will strike a ferro rod for me too. So it just kind of hits all the points that I needed it to hit. And then let's not forget, we're talking about check boxes here. So many EDC fixed blades come with these pancake sheaths, and I personally don't like pancake sheaths. Some of them are okay, especially if they're like really tight to the blade, but a pancake sheath just takes up too much pocket space. It's good for a belt carry, but for in the pocket, gotta go taco. So Tactile actually developed their first taco sheath for the Redhawk, and they did a pretty bang up job. It fits in here really well. Snaps in, good retention, and it doesn't take up too much pocket space. That sheath is about as close as you can get to the size of that blade without being too small. Like, absolute cut every last millimeter off of this thing to make this taco sheath happen. And you've got standard spacing for your holes here. It does come with the DCC. This is your standard, your completely, totally standard setup for the Redhawk. So you have a stonewash blade with an OD micarta handle and this Kydex sheath with a DCC clip. That is what you will get as the standard option. There are a couple of other options. There is an OD green Cerakote with a natural micarta, so this will be a little bit more expensive. They all come with this standard, and then there's also a black Cerakote with a black micarta handle. All these are Magna Cut, so while we're here, we might as well also just knock out some of the specs. Your overall length on this knife is 6.9 inches. You also have a blade thickness of 0.12, so just a little bit thinner than an 1/8 inch on your stock. It is Magna Cut, 63 to 64 HRC. The width at the handle is going to be just under 1/2 inch. It's 0.495. And then your cutting edge on this is 2.75 inches. And the weight on this is 3.16 ounces. So it's fairly lightweight. It's fairly small, but you still get a full grip and you get about a 3-inch cutting edge. One of the things that you may not even notice when you first grab this knife is the contouring on the handle. We went back and forth a lot on tiny little details. And one of the things we did is we just put like micro contouring on this handle. It swells just a little bit here before it tapers. So this is a little thinner. It swells back up here in the middle. And then there's a little tapering down in here as well. So it's not very noticeable unless you like look for it. But the difference in the very first version of this we had in a 3D print to the contoured version is noticeable in the hand. This made all the difference. These little scallops on the end of the scales made all the difference. And then we got this one little detail that makes all the difference. It's so subtle, but when we were doing 3D prints, this piece right here, and the end of this finger cutout right before the choil was sharp. And I said, hey, can we just knock the edge off that? Just round it a little bit and make it more comfortable, because even in this 3D print, it's actually really uncomfortable. And they didn't just round it. They just put this little facet on it. Can you see that? It just catches the light just a little bit. It's such a tiny little detail. And it's something that in person, so many people at Blade Show Texas were like, oh, that's really nice. And it's like the tiniest little detail. And I told them, I was like, you don't have to overcomplicate this. I just mean like, just put a little radius on it. But no, they put a little facet there and it made all the difference. It's very comfortable now. It's not sharp at all. The level of execution from Tactile on this knife was really great and awesome to watch in person. We had a lot of really quick turnarounds on some of the changes I wanted to make. And they made this thing happen really, really fast. And I'm really happy that I decided to work with Tactile on this knife. They knocked it out of the park. It's better than I expected. Like before we left for Blade Show Texas, I had never handled anything but one of the 3D prints. And I told Ricky, we got in the truck and left this office, and I was like, dude, I'm a little nervous because we're showing off this knife at Blade Show Texas that I've actually never held a physical version of, just the 3D prints. And I was nervous about that because I'd never gone through that process. I'd always had like a physical prototype, and they were like, just trust us, it's okay, just trust us. And I was nervous until the point we got to Tactile and they handed me, I believe it was actually this one right here, the one that I've been carrying for months. And I was like, Ricky, this is it. They killed it, like so good, like so good. So I'm no longer nervous. I know you guys are gonna love it, right? This is a special version that we are doing. It will be a Carry Commission exclusive. So if you want the one I've been carrying, which is an FDE Cerakote and a black micarta handle, these will be exclusive to Carry Commission. And let's talk about dates. So this knife, the Redhawk, is launching on the 22nd of May, which may be the day that you're watching this video, and price. So the base, which is the stonewash blade, green micarta handle, and this Kydex sheath is gonna be $229. You can upgrade, we'll call it an upgrade, but step it up to a Cerakote finish for $249. That still comes with the Kydex sheath. And you can also upgrade to this leather sheath from Chattanooga Leatherworks for 60 bucks. This is either an in the pocket or on the belt vertical carry sheath. I've been carrying one in my pocket. The reason I didn't pull it out for this was I don't have the Tactile branding on it. This was an early prototype, but you can see how it patinas over time. I've been using this sheath almost every single day since Texas. I mean, it's maybe 3 days since Texas has this not been in my pocket. So this has always been there. and I have loved carrying this knife, and I think you guys are too. They absolutely knocked this knife completely out of the park. I could not be happier, and for the time being, it's staying in the pocket. All right, that's it. That's the Redhawk. I hope you guys like it. It will launch at noon Central on the 22nd. That could be today. I think it's today. I don't know when you're gonna see this video, but these will launch at noon Central. And let me know in the comments what your favorite configuration is. For me, I think I have to go with the OD and the natural with the leather sheath. Like that's gonna be classic. That's gonna be me all day. So let me know in the comments down below what your favorite one is. Thank you guys again. There will be a link in the description down below for you to purchase this knife. Thanks for all your support. Love you guys. I'll see you later. And until the next video, carry on.